Is Daniel Jones going to be out for the remainder of the season? Brian Daboll was asked that question today during the media availability session, and he was not confident or sure if that would happen. We're going to break that down on today's show. But first, I need to make sure you are all subscribed to New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. We are on the cusp of getting to 38,000 subscribers on the channel, and I want to get there before kickoff. If you want free Giants videos every day, hit that button right now. Welcome into Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. I appreciate everybody for stopping by and hanging out with us and taking a couple of minutes to catch up on all the news and rumors surrounding the New York Football Giants. The number one story right now is Daniel Jones and his neck injury. He has been ruled out for this Sunday's game against the New York Jets. This will be the third game he has missed in a row dealing with that neck injury. And Brian Daboll had some really interesting words when asked if Jones will return this season. Let's go through somewhat of a timeline and how the neck injury has played out through the media. Obviously, we know a couple of weeks ago, Daniel Jones hurt his neck versus Miami. Following that game and preparing for the next week, Brian Daboll said DJ will play again this year. He was asked by a reporter if he will, and he pretty much guaranteed it that he will. Then the following week, Daniel Jones got back to practice in a limited capacity, but was not cleared for contact, and he has still not been cleared for contact. Fast forward a couple weeks later from when Brian Daboll said Daniel Jones will play again this year to today, and Daboll was asked, will Daniel Jones return and play football for the New York Giants this year? And Brian Daboll said, I don't have a crystal ball for injuries. Quite a change of tune for Brian Daboll when he was asked about that. This was the full clip and presser of what went down at the media availability today. Let's start at the top where a reporter asked Brian Daboll, when you told us a couple weeks ago that Daniel Jones is going to play this year, was that based off of what the trainers have told you, or was that just your hope? Like, you hope he plays again? Daboll said, I'm not going to go back to that. Appreciate the question. I just say he's getting better, and we'll see where he is next week. The reporter followed it up and said, I guess I'll ask it then. Do you think he'll play again this year? Brian Daboll said he's getting better. We'll see where he is next week. I don't have a crystal ball with injuries, but he is getting better, and we'll see where he is next week. Reporter followed up and said, that is a little less declarative than what you were previously saying. And Daboll said, yup. So the reporter said, so you can't answer that affirmative. And Daboll said, again, I just go with the information that I get. Today he was out. He's getting better. We'll see where he is next week. Last question was, you understand that a couple years ago, it was kind of a similar pattern. He practiced for a little bit, and then he was shut down. So you understand why we're wondering. Daboll said, no, I appreciate the questions. I'm not going to give you an answer that I don't have right now. He's getting better, and we'll see where he is next week. I want to focus on that. I'm not going to give you an answer that I don't have right now. Well, you gave us an answer following the Miami game. You said he's going to play again this year. What has changed? Has the neck got worse? Has it not responded like you thought? I think that's what it is. He has not responded from the neck injury like you thought he would, or like the training facility thought he would. Because Daniel Jones said this week he is still dealing with symptoms from that neck injury, which were pain in his neck, and it's traveling down to his left shoulder. And we told you 2 weeks ago, if you have a neck injury and you're feeling it in your shoulder, it's probably not a good thing. Look, Jones can't be cleared until he is 100%. It is not, the Giants will not whatsoever put Daniel Jones back on the football field unless he is cleared for contact. And the only way he's going to be cleared for contact if he is 100%. You can go out there with a hamstring injury and be 80% in play. You can play with a high ankle sprain and be 90%. If your neck's 90%, if it's 95%, if it's 99%, the doctors will not let you play football. And I think that's where Daniel Jones is sitting right now. I want to go back to this tweet that I had on October 15th where I quote tweeted Pat Leonard. Leonard said, NBC just reported on the broadcast that Daniel Jones said he has discomfort in the left side of his neck and the sensation or feeling goes down into his left shoulder, but he's hoping to possibly be ready for Washington. It was at that moment that I just knew this is going to be a much longer injury than we all thought. And I said, yep, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Daniel Jones is not playing again this year, and I still feel that same way. Look, Daniel Jones missed the final 5 games in 2021 with a neck injury. And the thing is, we didn't know what the injury was then. And once again, we don't know what the injury is now. We just know he's got a neck injury, he's hurt, he still has side effects, and it's affecting his left shoulder. When does that get better? That's a thing that takes months, if not years, if ever that gets better. Jordan Renan said this a couple of days ago on Twitter. Said Daniel Jones said he feels good and is doing more each week. It's just about passing a couple more tests in order to get cleared for contact. But Jones did say there are some symptoms. His optimism on not being shut down is in that it's a different injury than 2021, and there have been other players with similar injuries who have returned in a comparable timeline. Jones wouldn't specify which players. Look, I'm not going to believe it until I see it, that Daniel Jones is going to return to action this year, because it's the same song and dance that it was in 2021. He got hurt, he was back at practice next week, and then he didn't play. And then he didn't play, and then he didn't play, and they ruled him out for the season. And I'm not so sure that Daniel Jones is going to suit up one more time for the New York Giants this year. What do you think, though? Will Daniel Jones play another football game this year? Neck injuries are never something to mess around with. And if you're not cleared for contact 3 weeks after the injury, when are you going to be? Type Y for yes, type N for no. This is my take on this. A lot of people are like, is it Tyrod Taylor versus Daniel Jones? The bigger question that needs to be answered is, are the Giants going to start looking for a new quarterback, a new franchise quarterback? And my answer would be, it would be malpractice for the New York Football Giants to not start thinking about their next franchise quarterback, the next guy that's under center. Because with Daniel Jones dealing with a serious neck injury for 2 times in the last 3 years, that's not good. That is not good, ladies and gentlemen. The Giants 100% should be thinking about ways to go and acquire the next franchise quarterback, because if you're not, that says all you need to know about this organization. They need to be thinking forward right now. I feel bad for Daniel Jones, no doubt about it. But, 2 injuries to the neck in 3 years that have caused him to miss 8 games. Coming up next, though, we're going to break down the Giants' injury report as Kayvon Thibodeaux has been listed as questionable, and I'm going to tell you if I think he can play from the things that I've heard from some people in the know. But first, I need you guys to get hooked up with our proud sponsor, Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, and Prize Picks is going to hook you guys up with a $100 match on your first deposit up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. I'm a huge fan of Prize Picks. Every Sunday, I look forward to playing Prize Picks because, 1, it's the best way to play daily fantasy, but 2, it's just you versus the numbers. It's not you versus computers or a bunch of sharps and sharks out there. You just simply select more or less on a player's stat line that Prize Picks has allocated. And this week, I'm going with more than half of receiving or rushing or throwing TD for Saquon Barkley. I also think Breece Hall is going to have a good game against the Giants this week. He's an explosive runner, but I have the Giants defense shutting down Zach Wilson, so I'm going with less on the passing yards and rushing yards for Zach Wilson. You can roll with my picks or you can fade my picks. Just do it and play daily fantasy with the best in the game. That's Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS, and they'll hook you up with that $100 match on your first deposit. All righty, Andrew Thomas has been listed as doubtful for this Sunday's game against the New York Jets. Still dealing with that hamstring injury that caused him to miss time throughout the start of the year. But this is the first time that Andrew Thomas has at least practiced in a limited fashion on back-to-back days since before week 1. So Andrew Thomas, he's moving in the right direction. I'm assuming next week is the week that he's really going to ramp up his rehab, and he's going to try to get out there next week against the Las Vegas Raiders. The 2 players that have been ruled out for the New York Giants, third string and special team specialist running back Gary Brightwell. He's dealing with a hamstring of his own. He will not play. And also quarterback 1, Daniel Jones. He is going to be out with a neck injury. It'll be Tyrod Taylor calling the signals for the 3rd week in a row. Players that have been deemed as questionable for this week against the New York Jets. Adoree Jackson, who missed last week with a neck injury. He's once again questionable. Hope he can play. He absolutely makes this team better. Neal, he's dealing with a foot and ankle injury. He's also questionable, did not play last week. John Michael Schmitz, he's been out with since week 4 with a shoulder injury, but he was able to practice 2 days in a row. Kayvon Thibodeaux, he's dealing with an injury, and there was some thought that he may miss. I don't think Kayvon Thibodeaux is going to miss at all. Talked to some people, and it sounds like KT5 is going to be ready to rock and roll. Same with Darren Waller. I'm expecting everyone to play that is pictured on this screen, but if I had to pick someone that does not, I would say it's Evan Neal, as he's still dealing with that ankle injury, and it's limiting him so far in practice this week. Some keys to victory that we'll quickly talk about. If the Giants want to beat the Jets, they need to establish a run game. The Jets' pass defense is pretty good, and they can get after the quarterback. And we know the Giants' offensive line is a little bit beat up. Let Saquon Barkley eat. And that's what the Giants have been doing the last couple of weeks. Barkley has 52 total touches in the last 2 games. They need to lean on him as they're playing up against a Jets defense that allows 135.2 rushing yards per game, which is 26th in the National Football League. So that is a weakness when it comes to Gang Green's defense. Also, Saquon Barkley. We know that he grew up a fan of the New York Jets. He's been vocal about that. And he's also been vocal about the terrible performance he had versus them last time they played. 1 yard on 13 carries. I feel like Saquon's going to use that as fuel and carry that chip on his shoulder all game long. Key number 2, this defensive line led by Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeaux, and Leonard Williams with Wink Martindale calling the shots. They got to get after Zach Wilson. Look, he is a very erratic quarterback. He's up and down, and he's playing behind an offensive line that has not done a great job of protecting him so far this season. They've allowed the 5th most sacks in the National Football League, and the Giants' defensive line, they should absolutely win this game. You talk about Dexter Lawrence, he is the player that should dominate this game. The interior offensive line for the Jets is beatable, and Dexter Lawrence is that special of a player. I want to see big number 97 hitting the sexy Dexy dance in the backfield a couple of times. I want to see the big cat Leonard Williams in there as well, and I want to see Kayvon Thibodeaux show why he's the best young edge rusher in New York football. Another key on the offensive end for the New York Giants, find number 12, find him early, and target him often. This is the guy that had 8 targets last week, and I feel like he is starting to really get his footing as the type of player he's going to be in this offense. And Tyrod Taylor is the type of QB, if it's one-on-one, he's throwing you the football. And when you got a frame like he does at 6'6", you're always open. And the Jets, they've struggled to guard tight ends this year and limit their production, allowing 5 receiving touchdowns to the tight ends this year. I want to see number 12 dancing in the end zone once again this week. Last one. If Jalen Hyatt is one-on-one with no safety help over the top, just throw the ball like you did last week, Tyrod Taylor, because the worst thing that can happen is an interception. And I'm not too worried about that if you're throwing the ball downfield, because you could possibly draw pass interference or you could potentially make a big play. Because if Jalen Hyatt is even, he's leaving. If he's even with the DB, he's chunking up the deuce side and he's leaving him in the dust. He's such a big-time playmaker, averaging almost 22 yards per catch this year. All it takes is one play from Jalen Hyatt to absolutely change the dynamic of a football game, and I want to see him involved in this game. Take a couple of deep shots. Even if it results in an incompletion, it at least makes the defense think, where's 13? And when 13's on the field, my first step has to be back instead of just reacting to the snap. Let Saquon Barkley eat. Feed him the rock. Don't let Zach Wilson operate from a clean pocket. Find Darren Waller early and often and find him on 3rd downs. And if Hyatt's one-on-one, throw the damn football. Who do you got winning this football game as we are just a couple days away from the Battle of MetLife Stadium? Is it the Giants? Is it the Jets? Type NYG if you're on with Big Blue, or NYJ if you think Gang Green is going to pull off the win. My prediction, Giants 17, Jets 13. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I think Hyatt is going to make a play that's going to be a pivotal difference maker in this ball game. 12, 13, 26, 97. Those are the guys that are going to dominate this game this Sunday. As always, just want to say thanks, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Reminder, we'll be live on the channel this Sunday for a watch party, and I want to see you there. So subscribe and turn your notifications on.